Hi, folks. I'm Jimmy Hiles,
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm Derek Lemaster.
and this is Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and we decide which is the best, Bloodsport or Kickboxer. I'm going towards Bloodsport. I don't know about you guys.
I've never seen either.
Well,
I'm a
you're
big
lucky we're not
Kickboxer
doing our
fan.
Van Damme podcast,
Yeah,
which I would call a Van Damme good podcast. It airs on Tuesdays after Mando Monday. So it's unbeatable new show. Which one did you pick, Derek? Did
We're
you
gonna
say
have to-
Bloodsport or Kickboxer?
kickboxer.
You son of a bitch.
I think we should
To
start
me.
an LBJ Wednesday.
Yeah, right?
No, Lumberjack Man is totally blowing up, guys. Thanks for that. Now do that to the rest of them. That's
Right.
the get all of them up there.
Yeah, quit giving Derek all this credit.
Yeah, especially with goddamn Lumberjack Man.
You don't.
I mean,
know what
popcorn. I
movies
could
he
live
is.
with popcorn. I could live with popcorn. I don't know if any of us can live with Children of the Night, except maybe the mailman.
The mailman.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Stressed and anxious.
Why?
Just because. That's just how I am.
Oh, okay. Hey, that's fine. That's the way you want to be. That's the way you be.
Thank you. I knew you guys would accept me the way I am.
I do.
That's right.
How are
Lydia.
you doing, Derek?
I'm shitty, but I'm here.
Well,
need
good.
to
I'm
watch
glad
my
you guys are both in such great headspaces tonight.
How are you doing, Jamie?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, Jamie, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I had a bunch of caffeine earlier. I feel great. Ready to go. Excited about tonight's movie. And I'm really excited about tonight's horror news because we've got a lot of good stuff. I'm glad we actually are recording tonight instead of our usual night. We usually record on Wednesdays. So we're recording this on Thursday. And a big piece of horror news dropped. So today. So let's get into it with the horror news.
I'm excited.
We'll lead with that big news, actually. So remember a couple weeks ago we were talking about. Actually, I think it was last week. We talked about Firestarter when we looked at the Stephen King movies that are coming out, right? Remember we're talking about the new Firestarter coming out. Well,
Mhm.
they've got
Remember
they've got a trailer for it, which I have not watched yet.
I watched
but-
it.
Did you?
Yeah.
What does it look like? How's it look?
It looks okay. Looks all right. It kind of honestly, it gave me Pet Cemetery vibes, like
Oh, no.
remake.
Oh
but
no.
it looked better. But
Well,
like,
yeah,
the
it'd be
way
hard
that
not
it's
to.
filmed looks pretty similar.
That's the
to that, I'm
modern.
not
That's
gonna
the
lie.
modern style. That's the modern style. That's just
And
is the thing.
hopefully it's just that. Hopefully the plot's still good. It
Well,
was hard to tell.
so
from
as
the
you
trailer.
know, it has it has Kurtwood Smith in it. It has Zac Efron, had Gloria Reuben. But the big news today is these two things. It's going to be on Peacock and in theaters on May 13th of this year. So we've got a release date, May 13th, airing on both Peacock and theaters. But the big news is this, guys. It was just announced that the score for Firestarter is being composed by John Carpenter.
No.
Who?
Yeah,
What?
John Carpenter is scoring Firestarter.
Wow. That is
So-
exciting.
if nothing else, if the movie sucks, the music's going to be fucking great. Like, I mean, we have that to look forward
That
to.
is true.
What are your guys' take on that?
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
wish I could remember back to pay attention to the score in the trailer.
Yeah, I don't know if it had any of his stuff in the trailer yet, but
Yeah.
because I don't know if he actually scored it yet. It's probably scoring it now, leading up to the release in May. That excited me. That jumped today, and I was like, "Oh, that's great news."
You know what? I'm going to add a picture of you, me, and Toby right here when we went to see John Carpenter in concert
We did.
because
It
he
was
is a musician.
That was 2018. I'm wanting to say
Yeah, it was right before
2018.
Clark was born.
Yep, 2018. Derek, our friend Toby, and myself went and saw John Carpenter in Chicago, and it was amazing to just be breathing the same air as John Carpenter, and his music was fantastic. It really rocked, didn't it? It was really good.
It was really good.
Brag.
Humble brag, but I saw John Carpenter, no big deal. So, guys, I think you guys are going to be excited about this little news, but I'm going to give it to you here. Disney Plus has announced that they are making a new live-action Goosebumps show.
New live action
All right.
Goosebumps show?
Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on this?
I hope it's
Rock
good. Because I love me some Goosebumps.
We have a synopsis. It's a 10-episode series. The series follows a group of 5 high schoolers who unleash supernatural forces upon their town, must all work together, thanks to and in spite of their friendships, rivalries, and pass with each other. I said pest, idiot. In order to save it, learning much about their own parents' teenage secrets in the process.
Oh.
Ooh.
What are you guys' thoughts on this?
Freddy Krueger in Goosebumps World?
Maybe.
I'm
Parent
game.
secrets. Interesting.
You know, I really liked the R.L. Stein, the what was the
Fear
series
Street?
that they did? Yeah,
Fear
Fear
Street?
Street was
Yeah,
pretty
Fear-
good.
We'll
Oh,
get into
yeah,
Fear
that
Street
was-
eventually.
This
That
won't
was awesome.
necessarily be quite like that, but yeah, I'm
No.
excited.
I liked the movies. I thought the first one with Jack Black is really funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
I liked the movies too.
Yeah, those are good.
Oh,
Oh,
they were enjoyable.
yep. I'll give it a watch. We doesn't look like we have a release date yet, but I'll be watching it. Since we're talking about shows, I'll hit you with this one. Shudder has renewed Creepshow for season 4.
Nice.
So it's continuing. I love the new Creepshow. They're doing a great job on it. I love all of Joe's episodes, especially. But yeah, are you guys up for more Creepshow?
Definitely. Always up for more Creepshow.
Yep.
You never have too much Creepshow. That also has a great theme song, doesn't it? Yeah, it's a good one. Okay. This is another Shudder TV series, actually. Have you guys ever seen the show Slasher? You guys ever
Yeah.
watch Slasher when it was on Netflix?
I don't
It's
think
still
so.
on Netflix.
Yeah. The new seasons, though, it was exclusive to Shudder. So
Was
they just
it?
had a new, the fourth season. Well, they are season 5 is returning this year, starring Eric McCormick from Will and Grace. The series is
Really?
heading back in time to the 19th century. There's a serial killer stalking the mean streets, but instead of targeting the poor downtrodden like Jack the Ripper, the widow is meting out justice against the rich and powerful. The only person standing in the way of this killer is the newly promoted detective, Kenneth Reichers, whose ironclad belief in justice may wind up being yet another victim. What do you guys think of that?
Interesting.
I'm game.
Cool plot line, right? I liked the first season of Slasher a lot. Second season I didn't like as much. And then the subsequent ones I liked okay, but that first season I thought was really strong.
I
Did you watch it, Derek?
I was gonna say literally the exact same thing. Like I loved the first season. The second season was okay. The third season, not great. And I only saw 1 or 2 episodes of this most recent one, and I didn't care much for it. So you and I are right on par with each other.
Yeah, yeah. You have to give it a watch, Lydia. It's a show you definitely like. I mean, it's literally a slasher series.
I feel like I might have like started watching the first episode and fell asleep or something. It was just like not the right time for me to be watching it, but I remember you watching it actually, I think.
Yeah, because I talked about it when I first watched. Jordan and I actually binge watched the first season. He and I watched it like in one afternoon. We were really into it. We really liked it. We were like,
yeah,
this is great. And then last but not least, this is not really so much news, but we've got a new fun behind the scenes picture from Halloween Ends. You guys want to see it?
Yeah.
All right. Here it is. So, look at our girls in their final girl shirts.
Nice. Cute. Look at
them.
Yeah,
so Judy Greer, who played Karen Strode, Laurie's daughter, made these shirts for them.
No.
She's not there.
Yeah, she died.
Isn't that great? Yeah, she's dead. So her
spoiler alert.
Yeah. But yeah, isn't that fun?
That is fun.
Figured you guys would like that. I thought it was super cute. Final girls. Jamie Lee Curtis says, you know, they're survivors for now, but all bets are off this Halloween.
Oh shit.
So guys, tonight's movie is Don Coscarelli's 1979 flick Phantasm. So Phantasm is a hard movie to go through linearly because it's very non-linear. So we will go through it like kind of point by point because it's we'll kind of go in order somewhat and then we'll discuss just different portions of the film. But before we do that, let's start the episode like we do every week and talk about our experience with Phantasm and what have you. Let's start with you, Derek. This is not your first time watching Phantasm, right?
No, I saw this when I was really young. My mom had married a guy. His name was
the
Troy,
tall man.
And he liked this movie. No, and he liked
Thank
this
God.
movie. And so I've seen it a lot. I haven't seen it in a long time, and so when I was rewatching it, it was interesting for sure. Actually, you and I watched the second one, I think, not too long ago.
No, we watched Phantasm 2. We watched. I think that was actually when we shot. I Saw What I Saw. It was during that time. It was the first, the weekend before we shot I Saw What I Saw. We watched Phantasm 2.
Yep.
Check out I Saw What I Saw on HighlightProductions.com.
Good plug.
Lydia, is this your first time watching Phantasm?
Yes, it is.
It is. So you had no history with this. Have you even heard of it?
I'd heard of it. I had seen clips of it on like horror movie countdowns and things like that, and I've heard you talk. I've heard you mention it, and so I knew it was on my radar. I just had never gotten around to it, and I gotta be honest. When you recommended it, I was like, okay, I know you like this movie, but I watched the trailer, and I was like, this movie looks boring and weird. So
Can't
I
wait
was a
to see
little
how
nervous
what
going
your
into it.
thoughts were.
Uh huh. You were nervous going in.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous going in. I was like, I mean, just like, what am I getting myself into? What did these guys pick this time? I'm the odd man out. I'm the only one that hasn't seen it, so I'm like, no idea what to expect.
Was it different than you expected?
It was, yeah. So
Yeah.
I was shocked at how different it was than I expected it to be.
It's not a movie you can easily pin down. The sequels you can pin down more of a genre, uh, especially this the first sequel, which I love a lot. Phantasm 2 is my favorite of the whole series because it's the most fun. It's just balls to the walls like Evil Dead mayhem. This one's a cerebral kind of film. I mean, it's definitely it's a horror movie. It's scary and it has scares and some gore, but it's mostly a dreadful film. A movie that builds upon dread and a movie that builds upon the unknown. So you leave the movie confused at points, and that's why we're here to talk about it today. So let's get into it. Before we do that, I guess I should give you my Phantasm. Like Derek, I've watched this since I was young. I've watched it a lot. Most started with the sequel. Actually, is the one I watched the first, Phantasm 2 and 3. Actually vividly remember watching. I think probably 3 was the first one I watched because my stepdad at the time rented it, and I was like, "What the hell is this? This is scary. I don't like it." I mean, I did like it, but I was also like, I don't know what the hell's going on. And then this one I watched when I was in my teens. And I mean, I watched it younger, but I got into it in my teens. And it's been in my, kind of cycle for a while. I bought it recently. I bought the new Blu-ray of it, and it's fantastic. It looks gorgeous. So, without further ado, let's dive into this movie. So, we'll start at the beginning because it's the best place to start. And it kind of starts linearly, and it kind of starts normally ish. I mean, we open in a graveyard, and we see this couple having sex in the graveyard. And there's this old boy with a weird mustache. Like,
Oh my god, man, his beard
oh,
or whatever that
baby.
was.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, her
This
acting
was
was way better than his.
Yeah, his was not the best. His was not the best. Especially if they're like having sex and she's like, supposedly giving him a great time. He's just like, oh, it feels like he was like waking up from a dream or falling
Yeah.
asleep or something.
Well, I think she
didn't
picked
seem
people
into
up
it.
at bars so maybe he was
Maybe he was
drunk.
inebriated. Yep, that's true.
Yeah, but that was the worst
Mhm.
sex scene I'd ever seen in any movie. It was pretty bad.
And Derek is a connoisseur of sex scenes.
Well, no, but like that's not what I meant. I'm just saying it was pretty terrible.
Like,
And
I would
his-
give
his-
the sex scene 1 out of 10 pumpkins.
Right.
Now, Friday the 13th has some good ones.
Let's not get into rating sex scenes on this podcast, please.
Welcome to Scream Bloody Sexy. Yeah, it's a terrible one. You're right. But it's really interesting because while they're having sex, she pulls out a knife and stabs him. And then it flashes from her face to the tall man.
Which gives you so many questions. Right?
It
I
does.
know, Lydia, you and I were on the same page here. Like, so is she tall man or is she lady? I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know,
She's
'cause
tall man, right?
She's a tall
I think
man.
she is.
Yeah.
So he was like really into that guy.
Well, I don't know. So yeah, it's kind of open to interpretation because of I mean, we'll just get to it now. I mean, and we'll talk about it when we get there. But the revelation is that it's all a dream. So it's basically all predicating upon dream logic. So, but yeah, so she is the tall man, I guess. But it's a hell of a way to start a movie because you're just confused and you just see a dude get murdered and you're like, well, that's scary. I don't like that at all.
I know. Just think, all these years I've been missing out. I should have been taking girls to the graveyard instead of my mom's house. What is that about?
Still, to this day,
Yeah.
girls took your mom's house.
Ma, meatloaf.
Jeez Louise. So we cut from there to a mausoleum, basically. What are you guys' thoughts on the opening before we move on? What do you guys think of that opening scene? It definitely sets a tone, I feel like.
Yeah, it set a tone for me. I mean, for never seeing this movie, watching the trailer, which I usually don't do. I usually try not to watch the trailer beforehand, but I think Jake clicked on it, so we watched it, and I was like, "It looks like a terrible movie," and so
the trailer is terrible for it. It's a terrible trailer.
The trailer doesn't do it justice at all, but so I was immediately like kind of sucked into it. I was like, from expectations of this is going to be boring and weird, and to okay, like let's see where this is going. Like that was strange, and it was kind of scary.
Yeah.
So
it's atmospheric. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we move from there to this great shot. This movie has a lot of really great shots in it. I love the directing in this movie. In this shot, I really love when we're introduced to Jody and Reggie. We have a shot of the mausoleum, and they both just walk into frame.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an establishing shot into a close. It's really well done. I love that. It's a great shot. Did you guys pick up on that shot?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I like it. I was like looking at the mausoleum itself. Is that just a mausoleum, or is that like a full?
So it's a mansion in real life. It's like
Yeah.
a big mansion in real life that doubles
Yeah.
as the funeral home mausoleum. Yeah.
I love
So-
when they show stuff like that in movies too, and especially in horror movies because it's such a looming, tall, creepy building,
It
and
is.
it's so
Yeah.
clean that with the right music, like if it would have had different music, it might not have been as scary, but like with the music, it just makes you feel like this is a bad spot, and you don't know why.
Yeah, and
You don't know why you're feeling that.
since we're talking about it, let's actually brush on the music right now. I love the score to this movie.
Yeah,
The main
it was
theme is
good.
phenomenal. I love it. Do 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 do. It's so like just spooky and atmospheric. Like it a lot. It's one of my favorite horror themes.
Yeah, the building. I was like looking. I was just like focusing in on the architecture and how this building is making me feel, and then the main characters just step right into frame, and you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, you're like, oh, and you're like, wow, what a beautiful shot. What a great,
Yeah.
very cool, practical, like shot process. Because, like you said, it establishes the location, and then we establish our main characters immediately. It's a great, great shot. We find out that we have a great line here where we're introduced to Jody and Reggie, and Jody says, "A hell of a way to end a trio," which I think is a great line. It's a cool line. Hell of a way to end a trio. So we find out that the guy that died is their best friend, and he killed himself. Is what basically the thing is. They think that he killed himself. So it's like, oh man, he killed himself. That sucks. Can't believe it. And Jody says he has to go inside to check on somebody. And he walks the halls of this mausoleum. And this is where we get to see the interior of this mausoleum that you're talking about, Lydia.
Mhm.
And it looks great. I love they built this place. It was built with like balsa wood and shit. And they did an amazing job.
Wow.
So we're introduced to this mausoleum, which is like you said, it's a cold, clean, spooky place, right? I mean, surrounded by dead.
Hmm.
And Jody, we find out that Jody's parents are dead. So he goes and sees his parents. And while he's doing that, he hears some noises and he looks around for him and stuff, walks around the halls, and then he's interrupted by a hand touching his shoulder, and he turns around. It's the tall man, this mortician, and he says,
Oh no,
"The
no.
funeral's about to begin, sir." And
It's
this is our
not a
first
Yells it.
introduction to the tall man.
Yeah,
What?
Jamie
Yeah.
just downplayed that whole thing so
Yeah.
he
It
like
wasn't a touch.
slams his hand
Bam.
Yeah.
and then screams in his face.
Yeah.
Jamie's like, he touches him and then whispers to him.
Yeah, he says, "The funeral's about to begin, sir." What are your that's the first time we're introduced to the tall man. How was your
Yes.
introduction to the tall man, Lydia?
It's so jarring. Like, I was like, oh, hell no. And you can see, like, that guy did a great performance because he was, like, clearly, like, freaked out. He was, like, scared of that guy. I feel like I would be scared of that guy if I saw him in person.
Well, yeah, especially, I mean, he probably was scared because they might not have told him that that Angus Scrimm was on set and he just pops up.
Literally.
Dude, I would have kept
He
him a
freaked.
secret.
Yeah, he's
Go
the
ahead.
tall man is great, right? Let's talk about Angus Scrimm as the tall man. What are your guys' thoughts on him as a whole in this movie?
I mean, I didn't know what to think. I was so creeped out and confused about what his motive is, like what is going on this whole time. I had no idea. So I'm just like, what is this guy's problem? Is he a ghost? Is
What's his
he
deal?
possessed? Is he evil? Like, is he satanic? You know, like I'm thinking all these things. Like, I had no idea what his deal was.
Yeah, Derek, what do you think of the tall man? His Angus Scrimm's performance as the tall man.
So when he is when he's in frame, he is such an imposing person. First off, he's literally tall. Like he's a huge dude. And everything from the way he carried himself to his facial expressions, like I would be terrified
His voice,
of this man.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I were on set with him, I would be terrified. And he's probably a little teddy bear, you know.
He's a
off-screen,
sweet man, yeah.
Yeah, but he is so imposing in the
There's
scenes
no
that he's
way.
in.
There's no way
Right?
that guy is a sweet guy. He is
He was.
terrifying.
He was a sweet guy. They loved him. He made 5 of these things. He's like
Yeah.
beloved.
Gosh. Wow. I'm gonna
I
have to
mean,
look into this more.
Yeah, he's the icon of this franchise, and
Oh,
there's
yeah,
a reason
yeah.
why, because he is the tall man.
Yeah, the tall man is
So
such a
weird.
the tall man is such a great like character, and it's a great name too. The tall man is such a like iconic, cool name. You know, yeah.
There are 2 things that carry through this franchise that like you never forget. There's 3, I guess there's 3 maybe. One, he's number 1. 2 are
Mhm.
those freaking cylinder balls, man.
We'll get to the balls.
They're
Yep.
so iconic. We'll get there.
And what's 3? The Hemikuda?
The little dudes.
Oh, I was gonna say Reggie would probably be number 3, and
It
then
would be between Reggie, but
well, you'll get more of Reggie in the sequels, Lydia. We promise.
yeah.
And Reggie grows and grows and grows.
Okay. Wait, which
So-
one's Reggie?
Reggie is the ice cream man.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
with the mullet.
Reggie's the ice cream man. He becomes the central character of this, essentially.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You know, unrelated, but he has one. He has a mullet. I totally had a dream the other night that I had a mullet. Randomly.
You had a dream
I
you had a
was like-
mullet?
Yeah, and I was like playing with my hair.
Were you bald on top?
Nope.
Did you
I
have
was
the
short-
Reggie? You just had a regular
Nope.
mullet. Okay.
Yeah, but I had this like shortcut here, and then in the back it was just like
Reggie
Like
has a
Ray Cyrus.
skullet. Reggie's rocking a skullet.
skullet.
Yeah.
It's a skullet. So, we're also in this scene introduced to our main character, Mike. Um, what do you guys? So Mike's riding on his uh, dirt bike to go and like basically spy on. We don't know why at the moment, but he's like spying on the funeral and stuff. We come to find out it's because he's watching his brother because he's terrified that he's going to leave him. Um, so he's watching over and stuff, and after everybody leaves, Mike is still hiding in like the bushes with his binoculars, and he watches the tall man grab a casket by one hand and throw it into, basically lift it up by himself and throw it into the back of the hearse. What did you think when you saw that, Lydia?
I was like, what the hell? He just picked that thing up. Like, it wasn't just a casket, it was the casket that their friend was in.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, what is he doing? What does he want with that body? And how is he picking that up with one arm?
Because we just in the previous scene watched all of the friends. There was like 8 of them grabbing this casket and carrying it as pallbearers. And then we just see him pick it up like it's nothing and throw it into the thing. So Mike's already freaked out, and he keeps seeing something like in the corner running between tombstones. He doesn't know what it is. So he starts to ride off, and as he's riding, because he's spooked out by not only the things, but watching the tall man. And as he's riding his bike, the tall man glances at him, and Mike crashes off of the dirt bike and then gets up and heads out. So what do you guys think of this scene setting up things? Like, I mean, we kind of get established characters a little bit, and we kind of, get a little taste of some weirdness going on.
I just realized that I still don't know what was going on in this movie.
That's a theme, isn't it, Derek?
It is
Theme
a
in
theme, yeah.
Phantasm.
This one's specific. This one's the worst at that because
Well, yeah,
Okay.
it's.
There's
I
no
mean,
answers.
it's purposely. Yeah, it's purposely ambiguous. I mean, we
Yeah.
get answers, but you have to listen to them. So we find out by the end why they're taking the people and all that stuff. So we find that stuff out at the end of the movie. Did you miss that?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. Like, why do they
So-
need the people?
So they need the
I
people.
mean,
Should we go
you can
into
wait
it
to
now, or
explain it
should
to
we
me.
wait?
Yeah,
Okay,
we can wait to explain it to me.
Okay. Okay. So
I
this-
mean, I'm just trying to put it together, and I'm like, something didn't connect for me, clearly.
but it's so pretty to look at. There's great visuals and
Yeah, I had a
Great
I had a
shit
good
going
time
on.
watching it.
yeah. You're just like, yeah, it's cool. It's scary. So Mike goes to visit this fortune teller. And this scene is fucking trippy, right?
she's a witch.
Yeah, so he goes and visits the granddaughter, asks if the grandmother's in. She comes in, she doesn't speak. She's like wearing these dark glasses. And Mike's telling her the fear, his fear that his brother's going to leave. And she said, don't. We told you if Jody leaves, he's going to take you with him. And we see the scene where Mike is driving with Jody in the Hemikuda, and they get out and he's looking at it and tinkering with it. And as he's tinkering with it, he's underneath of it. We find out Mike's a mechanic. He's underneath messing with it, and this guy pulls up to talk to Jody. And he's like, yeah, sorry about your folks. He's like, yeah, because they're talking about Tommy's death. And he's like, yeah, what are you doing down here? He's like, raising the kid. I love him, but I think I'm going to have him move in with his aunt. I love the kid. I'm really going to miss him. And it's just kind of tragic because he lost his parents 2 years ago, and he's all he has. So he's like, I think he knows that I'm thinking about leaving because he follows me everywhere. And we get these montages of him following him from place to place. What do you think of that? I mean, just that little bit. That's kind of sad, right?
Yeah, for sure. He really does. And the kid's listening the whole time.
Yeah, he's just
saying this
listening.
stuff.
Listening underneath. So the fortune
He just
teller
forgot he
tells
was
him,
there. Really quick, I want to
Yeah.
touch on one of these montages. So there's a scene of like him riding down the street on a bicycle,
yeah, 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 and
and then
Jody's like, Mike's just,
running through the yard
Yeah,
trying to catch
is
up
that
to
what he
him. I'm just
says?
like,
He's
yeah.
like, yeah, the kid follows me everywhere
yeah, yeah,
because he
Yeah.
doesn't want, he's afraid I'm gonna leave, and he's like, and I'm thinking about dumping him and leaving. So that's
yeah, yeah. Think about taking him to my aunt. He's a great kid. I love him. I'm really gonna miss him. You're like, come on,
And they're
man.
brothers, right?
Yes, they're brothers.
Yeah.
which they don't seem like brothers.
Jody is his older brother. It's kind of like dad and his oldest brother. There's like a big age difference. So he's the oldest. He's his older brother. And then, Mike is 14, I think, 13, 14.
Well, and that's quite a responsibility to take on,
It is.
raising somebody. Anyway.
It's also quite a trauma to lose, everyone at that age for
Well,
both of them.
I mean,
And
I
especially him.
I can
yeah.
see, I can see that he is clearly wants to get out of there and knows that he can't
Yeah.
probably take the kid with him. So that's fair. I think his character is kind of just I don't know, something about the character doesn't express that he cares much about the kid,
Yeah, he does. I feel like he does in like a brotherly way, but it's the 70s and he's kind of hardened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the
That's
70s
gotta be-
way. It's the 70s
the
macho
70s.
way. Whereas now
Must
I would have
not
no
show
problem.
emotion.
Yeah, I would have no
Mhm.
problem going up and hugging my brothers and telling them I love them. I do it all the time. But a different time, I guess. So this fortune teller basically tells him to face his fears and makes him put his hand in makes a black box just appear on the table. He puts his hand in the black box and it starts like ripping at his hand, and she's like, "Don't fear, don't fear," and he quits fearing and he gets his hand out of the box, and then lays the cash on top of it, and the box just disappears. And he leaves, not really getting the answers that he wanted, but getting the answers that he needed. And so, what do you guys think of the fortune teller scene? Were you confused as fuck, Lydia?
No, I liked that scene a lot. I was like, I mean, I wasn't questioning at that point because I'd already seen this other crazy
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
But I was like, I thought that was
Sure.
really cool that she was kind of talking like through her granddaughter
Yeah.
and their relationship. I don't know what was going on, but it seemed nice.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Derek?
Same thing. I followed it pretty well, and what the point she was trying to make, it only really becomes apparent at the end.
At the end. Yeah.
But yeah, and it's also like, I don't want to get too far. I'll wait. I'll hold on to what I'm thinking. But yeah, it was kind of a strange like plug that they put into the middle of this movie was, he went and saw a witch.
Yeah.
See
Well,
what
it's not even the middle, it's the
this is
beginning
gonna be.
still. The
Well, yeah,
beginning of the
you're
movie.
right. Yeah.
Then the granddaughter goes to the mortuary for some reason. Goes to the mausoleum. I don't know why she goes here, but she goes there, and then she gets captured because she screams, and then we move on to the next scene.
Yeah.
I don't know why she's there.
I
I
think
really
she
have no
goes-
explanation.
I think she goes because she liked the kid. Like she was, what's the boy's name?
Mike.
Mike. I think because her grandma at the end of that little scene started like laughing, like almost like making fun of him. And the girl didn't really laugh. Like she just kind of like took it kind of more serious. Yeah. And she was like, I better go like check on him.
Because he talks about the tall man in the scene. Tells him about the strange stuff he's seen. So maybe she goes there to investigate or to see what's going on.
Hmm.
So a little bit later, I mean, we get some like kind of character beat scenes. That's what a lot of this movie is. That's why it's hard to go scene by scene because there's a lot of just character building moments and quiet moments, building up the kind of dreamlike quality of this movie. But the next big thing that happens is Mike or Jody goes to the bar and he picks up the woman in lavender, is
You
what
might
her
as well
name
just call her
is.
the tall man.
Yep, the woman in lavender. He picks her up and they go to the cemetery to have sex. Same as what happened with Tommy. And this scene is hilarious. So Mike follows just to, he's following Jody. That's what he does. Or he's following Jody. That's what he does. And then he sticks around for them having sex, and it's kind of like, oh, because he's a young kid, and he's like, oh, going to see some boobies. And he sees something in the woods, and he's attacked by well, basically he sees a dwarf, one of the hooded dwarves, and Jawas basically is what they look like. They look like
Right.
Jawas.
Do they have proper names?
No, the dwarves. That's what their names are. The
Yeah.
dwarves.
Yep. They're
Yep.
called dwarves.
Yep. So the hooded dwarves show up, and Mike runs through. This part cracks me up every time. Runs through the cemetery, and Jody raises up with the chick's underwear in his mouth, and he goes,
Yeah.
"What the heck?"
Yep.
And then he's like, "Stay right here."
Yeah.
Just leaves the girl in a dark cemetery.
He's like, "That's my little brother." Runs, which I would do too. I'd be like, "I've got to go check on my brother," or I'd say, "We got to get going because I got to check on my brother." But he finds out what's going on, and he's like, there's these things. They're going to attack me, and he thinks he's crazy. Basically, he's like, "There's nothing here, Mike. Go." Gives him the car keys. Take it home. So he does, and then Jody goes back, and the woman in lavender's gone. What do you guys think of this scene?
I'm not gonna lie. Does this show the dwarf? It kind of shows it. You just
Shows
barely
Tommy
see
a little
it.
bit. Yeah.
You
Oh, in this
barely
scene, yeah.
see it. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it creeped me out. It got me. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, ugh. Like I was like, I don't know what, but like, did we already see? We kind of because
We
he was
see a
like-
little bit of it in the cemetery at the beginning. Just a flash.
So, and
Yeah.
it does that like 3 or 4 times
Mm-hmm.
where you see like
Just the
Just,
end, him scurrying.
yes,
Yeah.
just like the
Mhm.
coat
Mhm.
or whatever.
Yep, the
And
edge of the coat.
That is what really got me like really sucked into this movie because that was so creepy to me. That really creeped me out. And when I saw that thing run at him, I was like, I jumped. I'm pretty sure I jumped. I was like, oh my god, don't get me.
Derek also has this fear of the dwarves, don't you, Derek?
I mean, not as much as I have other fears, but yeah.
Well, no, they're not.
I'm joking.
They're not walking cigarettes.
Yeah. But hey, maybe this is where it stems from. You don't know. But this scene is kind of a strange one, and for the most part, I think the acting in this movie is pretty good. But like, this is one of those scenes where it's just like when he raises up with the underwear in his mouth. Like it was
It's
kind of
funny.
cheesy but funny.
Yeah,
But it's good.
pretty
Yeah, it's
funny.
played for laughs. Yeah, it's a great.
Yeah,
It's a great.
yeah, for sure. The delivery
That's-
was
I'm-
just awkward.
Side
The
tangent.
thing that I
mean,
thought
Go ahead.
the thing that I thought was really funny about that was that he was like up by her neck
Mhm.
with underwear in his mouth, and I was like, how long was he just gonna keep those in his mouth? He literally runs away with them in his mouth still. Like
Yeah, it's not the world's best. It's not the most believable, but it's hilarious. I mean, it's the same logic.
it made me laugh. It made me laugh for sure.
Little side tangent. It's the same logic, and it kind of inspired a scene in Hookman, or Short Hookman, where Dan, the man, is going down on his girlfriend, and he's still wearing his backwards baseball cap.
What do you mean? This was your idea.
I just saw someone walk by the tent.
Oh, voyeur, eh? Now we're getting deep.
Yes. Yes.
Just like a stupid comedy beat in the middle of a horror movie.
Well,
Just what
you
I
couldn't
yeah.
wear it facing because the bill would get in the way.
yeah.
Everybody
Be
knows
like a
that.
shield. Yeah, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you got to keep the pleather hat on at all times.
Right.
So, Mike goes to investigate this mausoleum after this point. He's like, well, I've got to see what's going on here. So when he's in this mausoleum, he's seeing some creepy shit. And then this creepy caretaker guy basically stops him and is holding him. Then out of nowhere, this silver ball comes around the corner. And Mike jumps out of the way and it digs into the head of the caretaker and spurts blood out of it as it sucks his brain out. Then he falls over and pisses himself.
Yeah, he does.
What do you guys think of this scene? What was your reaction, Lydia? I'm interested to know your reaction.
First of all, what the hell is that?
So Sentinel is what it's called, a Sentinel.
Okay. Second of all,
You'll find out in the sequels what they are.
okay, because they really don't say. They're just like there.
Yep.
No clue. You're just like, well, I guess that's a thing you got to look out for in this world.
Yeah.
And okay, so I loved the effect that they did with that thing. Okay, so it stabs in his head. So I'm assuming they glue this thing to his head, and you get a side shot. It's got these like two or three?
Yeah, the two prongs,
blades, like prongs that come out and stick in his head. So they have this thing glued to his head, and they did this really great effect of they had like a piece of false skin on the bridge of his, at the end of his nose right here, and this thing has a drill that comes out and turns, and you see that fake flesh get drilled through, and it is so crazy looking. It looked so cool. I was like, oh my god! And then you just see like blood just spurting out the other end of this thing, just like just fountaining out. It looked so good. Loved it. And then he falls down and you're like, okay, well, that was awesome. And then he just pissed his pants everywhere. It's just on the marble and it's so gross. I was like, no, that was too much.
What do you think, Derek?
Like I said, these are one of the top 3 or 4 iconic things about these movies, and they don't really explain them here. And do we see him in any other scenes in this movie, or is this the
one
only
more
one?
scene? One more
scene.
Yeah.
One other scene.
Oh yeah, because he
shoots it with the shotgun. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it explodes in this like pink powder. But anyway,
it
might have been a gender reveal of some sort.
Oh my gosh.
But,
It's a girl. Horror gender reveal.
I know why it explodes into pink, and so do you, Derek. You know why it explodes into pink. Because you know what the balls are. If you remember. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll talk about them in the sequels. Because I don't want to ruin it for Lydia.
We might do a sequel here pretty soon. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
But yeah, it's a really great introduction to, because these balls are characters of the series. It's a really great introduction to these entities.
Yeah, and it also just is shocking and a good scare out of nowhere. I mean, it works as a scare scene. The scene leading up to it, just the buildup of the suspense of the scene, is really good and works. And then when the ball comes out of nowhere, you're like, what the hell? What is that?
Literally. And that was the thing about it, was like, because this movie is so old and I had heard of it, I knew that was part of it. But didn't quite. I think like part of me was thinking it was like a Hellraiser kind of situation. And so that was kind of in my head. But then when they don't really explain anything about it, I was like, what is going on here? Like, what? What a crazy movie.
Yeah, yeah. So that would be
trying to wrap my head around it.
That would be enough to end
for you.
Go ahead.
When they're playing the guitar, it's him and
we'll get to the guitar scene, yeah. But
it's coming up here, right?
Yeah, after this scene I'm about to talk about.
All right, I'll wait.
All right. So that would be enough to end a scene right there. That would be scary enough, right? But that's not the end of that. That's not the end of that sequence, guys.
No,
because then the tall man comes and starts chasing him around, and he ends up slamming the tall man's fingers in the door, and they fall off. And
he cuts him
up.
off.
Yeah, he cuts him off with his knife. That's what it is.
Yeah,
cuts him off with his knife.
Yellow blood.
Yes.
Yellow goo. I don't know what that is.
You'll be explained to that in the next movie as well.
Oh.
So the yellow goo, he picks up the fingers as a he takes them with him.
He picks up one finger.
One single finger, yes. Picks up one single finger. And then
he is braver than me. He picks up that finger, puts it in his pocket.
Puts it in his pocket, yeah.
His front shirt pocket. Saving that for later.
And we get a scene with him showing, he takes it home and puts it in a box. And then we'll get to your guitar scene. We'll get to your guitar scene now, Derek. What was your question about the guitar scene?
Man, his name is escaping me right now.
Reggie,
yeah. Reggie's playing the guitar. Is it Mike that's in this scene?
It's Mike. No, it's
okay.
Jody.
No, Jody.
Yeah, it's Jody. It's Reggie and Jody.
Okay, then it doesn't make any sense at the end then.
What do you mean?
Just, we'll hold this thought and we'll come back to it whenever we get to the very end.
Okay.
I don't want to ruin it.
This guitar scene is hilarious and great. The music they're playing is really, they're really playing that. That's really them playing the guitar.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah, and it's a live take, not ADR'd. And it sounds good. It sounds good.
It does.
It's fun little and then Reggie ends this, says, "We're hot as love, baby. We're hot as love."
Yeah.
Pulls out a tuning fork and hits it, and then kills it with his fingers, which comes into play later as well.
I knew that was going to come into play too, honestly.
Yeah, because they just held on it for so long, right? They made a thing of it.
Yep.
That's
so,
what I'm referring to.
Oh, okay. What were you referring to then?
When we get to the end,
okay.
We'll circle back here. But the people in this scene is what doesn't make any sense.
Why?
I'm confusing you, aren't I?
Yeah, I'm very confused.
All right, well, I'll just remind me and we'll come back to it.
Okay, we'll come back to it. So, Mike shows Jody the finger, and it's moving in the thing.
I was like, wait, what?
He shows him the finger.
Yes,
He's like, look at my finger. He shows him the tall man's severed finger.
Yes.
And it's moving in a thing, and that's when Jody's finally like, what the fuck? Okay, so maybe something's going on around here.
I was so afraid that finger wasn't going to be there.
Oh, the finger comes back for sure, doesn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah. So
no,
basically,
wait. When he chopped off the finger and he was in the mausoleum, is that when you see the Jawa dwarf again?
Yeah, you see it there too. Yeah.
It like attacks him, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that's what happened. That scared me.
Yeah. So freaking yeah. I'm trying to remember the order of this. So Jody goes to This is the scene where it freaking basically the finger transforms.
Yes.
He goes to show the finger to like he's gonna take it to the police or whatever, and opens it up, and it's this creature, this black creature thing.
It's like a beetle fly demon.
Yeah.
Mixture.
Yeah, and it pops out, and he grabs it, and he's holding it down, and then they throw it down the sink. They think they got rid of it, and then
it's super strong.
Yeah, so
it's
then
super scary.
So then Reggie comes in, and he's like, "Hey, Mike, what are you doing?" Blah blah blah, and he's like, "Hey, I was thinking you want to go on a ride with me tonight. You know, it's going to be hot. There's going to be a lot of customers. You're good at bringing them in. What the hell's going on here, guys?" And then the creature pops up, and they start fighting it again and shove it down, and Jody starts stabbing the shit out of it in the sink. And Reggie says, "What the hell is going on here?" What do you think of this scene, Lydia? The bug attack scene.
Loved it. It really, like, this movie plays on my fears very well. If I saw that thing, I would lose my mind. There's no way I would be like grabbing it, wrapping it up in anything. I would be out, burn the house down. I don't know what. It's like, I don't even have a problem with spiders or bugs if they're like small and not touching me, but like this thing is like cheeseburger
it's like
size.
baseball. Yeah. It's a big fur ball.
Yeah,
and
it's like furry and
teeth and
black,
eyes,
and it's got teeth and eyes that are like not normal.
Yeah,
and it is flying around with super strength
and super
like pulling them around.
It's like going like super loud too.
Yeah, it's like buzzing really loud, which is just the chaos of bugs. That is the part that I can't stand the most. It's just the chaos and the sound and the thought of them touching me, and it's just like pulling them around, and they put it in the garbage disposal.
Yeah,
and he looks, and there's just a hole in his jacket, and I thought he was like just upset about his jacket.
Yeah. Oh, that's my favorite jean jacket.
Man, that's happened to me before, not in that scenario, but
I'd hope not.
You didn't have a
where
giant
I picked
fly?
up my jacket. I had this amazing jacket that my best friend got me. Shout out to Garth. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Garth.
Happy birthday, Garth.
And he got me this amazing Lady Gaga leather jacket. It was like probably way too expensive, and it was the sweetest thing in the world. And when I got my puppy years ago, she just chewed a perfect hole in the back of this jacket.
Aww.
Like, I was like, no. Right over Lady Gaga's face. So
she just hated Lady Gaga. What can I say?
Yeah, or she loved Lady Gaga. I mean,
yeah,
it's debatable.
She's good enough to eat.
Real tasty leather jacket.
Derek, what are your thoughts on this scene?
Man, I'm gonna put myself in the place of the person who wrote this, the screenplay, and I
Don
just imagine
Coscarelli.
somebody carrying around a notebook while they're eating shrooms, and like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. I'm gonna have a severed finger, turn into a giant fly, and attack these people. That's great. Let's write it down.
Yes,
he was right.
It was a good idea. Yeah, it was
the
effective
most random thing. Yeah, and that thing, I love it. Whenever it's like crawling up the back of his hair.
Oh yeah, and it sticks up. Yeah,
it comes up over
his hair. Oh, the way that was lit. I was like, you could feel it. You could just feel that thing crawling on your head. So cringy. What were you thinking when you guys were kids watching this? Like, did that get to you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fun.
I
had a good time. It was all scary. I thought it was all scary.
Yeah.
It was a scary.
I imagine that would stand out.
When we were kids, it was scary, for sure.
That far back, really, Tall Man is the only thing I really vividly remember.
And you remember being scared of him, right?
Like,
yeah.
I remember the end of this movie pretty well, like the very end.
Yeah.
I remembered that pretty well, and like some of the beats, but like a lot of the real um, like the relationships and like the plot lines and things like that, I'd kind of forgotten about. So it was good to rewatch it. Anyway, that was my.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically the next bit we have is there's a bit that we kind of skipped where that's like I said, there's just all these little character moments, but there's a moment where uh the tall like Mike is walking down the street. It's after he sees him at the he follows Mike or he follows Jody to the bar who goes and asks about the woman in lavender. And Mike's walking down the street and he sees Reggie pull up and he's, getting ice cream out and he hears the footsteps of the tall man. And he
Oh
sees him
yeah.
crossing the street and he's in slow motion walking and he turns and stares and looks right at Mike. And then Reggie opens the ice cream doors and it hits him and he's like and then turns and continues to walk away. What were you thinking? That's a great scene, I feel like. What are your guys' thoughts?
It is so nightmarish. Like, it's like very intense. And like, I don't think anything actually happens.
Mm-mm.
So it's like confusing a little bit.
It like builds into the ending of this movie, and it definitely builds into Phantasm 2.
Yeah, it's definitely a creepy scene. I mean, it is like the dread that he just looked right at me, and I'm just staring at him.
Do you remember being a little kid? And I mean, just think about it. You're 13 years old. There's a guy that you find creepy, and you don't know why yet. There's some stuff going on, and then you see him turn and face you. Mm-hmm. Like you're looking at him, and then he just stops and makes eye contact with you. I mean, that would be terrifying. I would say.
Just solidifies your reason of being afraid of this person.
Has great sound design in this scene too.
Doing that today and turned to look at me, I'd be afraid. So
yeah, still to this day. Yeah, exactly. So basically, Reggie, Mike, and Jody all decide, hey, we've got to figure out what's going on with this. Something's going on, And Reggie's like, we got to go and take down this sucker. Let's take down this mother. And, Mike's like, are you kidding me? This guy's so strong. I watched him throw a casket in with one hand. What are you talking about?
I know, man.
You don't know what you're dealing with here.
Thank God he saw that.
They needed to like get him and stomp him or something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna stomp the. Yeah, Reggie says we'll get him, stomp the shit out of him, and find out what's going on around here.
And Mike laughs at him like, "Dude,
you don't know anything. You don't know anything about it." So Jody goes to investigate the cemetery, and while he's here, he goes in, and this is where he gets attacked by the Jawa, Lydia. He gets attacked by the dwarf in the basement. Mm-hmm. He has the handgun, and it jumps on his back and starts riding him, and he shoots it off with the gun.
Yes, he does. Very awkwardly.
Yeah, holds it like this, and he's boom, and then he shoots it as he's leaving, and then because
that alone, that made me jump. Just him like trying to shoot something next to his head. I was like,
yeah,
I did like a little gasp.
And to get into this
movie got me. I jumped a couple times in this movie. I'm not gonna lie.
So he has Mike, or he leaves. He's being chased, and then a car pulls up, and it's Mike in Himikuda, and he gets in. He's like, the pump's in the back. The pump action's in the back, and he takes it, and then he's being what?
There was like this scene whenever Mike pulls up. There's like this suspenseful scene where like there's somebody in this car. Who is in the car? Like, and there's a couple
Yeah.
like beats between the reveal, and then when he finally opens the door, he's like, he says something to the effect of, "Oh man, this door sticks," or
Yeah,
something like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
yeah,
Just
It
totally
just,
plays it off.
yeah. So
yeah,
then
I
they're
kind of
driving
couldn't roll the
and
window down.
they're driving and
Say anything.
they start being chased by a hearse,
Hmm.
and it appears to be a driverless hearse. And so he pulls the shotgun and he ends up shooting it and forcing it to crash. Which this scene where they're chasing it looks like $1 million, and this movie was made for no money. And this scene is great, I think, where he's shooting a shotgun at the car and stuff.
Yeah.
He forces it to wreck. They get in and they find out that one of the dwarves are driving it, and the dwarf is a shrunken down Tommy.
The big
What?
reveal.
You didn't know? You didn't realize that?
No.
Yes, the dwarf is a shrunken down Tommy.
Oh
'Cause
my
he says,
gosh.
"Oh, it's Tommy."
That explains a lot. Somehow I missed that. Like it was probably, the dogs were like in my face or something. Damn,
Yeah,
I
so-
totally missed that part.
Yep. So it's so Reggie shows up, and they end up putting the dwarf in the back of Reggie's fucking ice cream truck. And this is where we
Yeah,
get
I
the
totally
scene.
missed that.
This is where we get the scene where Reggie's like, "Well, kick that mother," saying he's gonna kick his ass or whatever to find out what's going on. And Jody essentially locks Mike upstairs in his room. He takes him up there, and then he jams a screwdriver into the door and locks it there. That's the scene, right? Is that this scene?
Yeah.
You're trying to... No,
'Cause,
not yet. Not yet. Not yet. I'm sorry. That's later. First, they go and remember Mike goes with those... Reggie takes Mike over to those girls' house. And those girls are watching Mike. And Mike sees at that antique store. And he sees the photograph of the tall man. Remember?
Yep.
And the tall man
Yes.
moving?
The antique store.
Well-
Oh my gosh. I was like, why are you just taking him to an antique store?
I don't know.
What?
I could
What
get
on
lost
earth?
for hours in an antique store.
Oh, I love antique stores, don't get me wrong, but like something is going on, something is happening, and you're like, let me take him to the antique store. Take him anywhere else.
Yeah.
Well, so the cool thing about this scene is that, sprinkled into this movie, as kind of chaotic as it might seem and things like that, like, are some really cool shots. And this is actually one of them, right? Because you go from this still photo to they zoom in on it, and then it becomes a
moving picture. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yes.
you also get the realization the tall man has been here for a while.
Yes.
Mhm.
Because this picture
really
is
old.
a horse and buggy
Mm-hmm.
being drawn, and it's because it shows the house, the mansion,
Mm-hmm.
and him. So this is kind of a reveal, a little bit, but also a really great shot.
Yeah, it is. What did you think of this whole scene, Lydia?
Well, apparently I missed half of it. I think, I think I paused the movie to let the dogs outside, I think is what happened. And I missed the Tommy reveal. And came back in, and someone was like locked in the truck. And I was just like, oh, they got one. Okay, whatever. Like, I didn't think anything of it. So, and I think like at the same time, Jake came down and was talking to him. So I think I just got distracted at this point. So that might be why things didn't fully come together for me.
So, they're on their way back. The girls and Mike are driving, and they come across the ice cream truck, tipped over, Reggie's ice cream truck, and Reggie's gone. He's missing. And Mike is concerned what's going on, or yeah, Mike's concerned about what's going on, and he's like, "We got to get out of here. We got to go." And the dwarfs appear and attack the girls, and Mike manages to escape from them. What do you think of the dwarf attack scene?
So I was watching this with subtitles. And every time dwarves would come around, it would pop up at the bottom and it said something like dwarves warbling. So that's all I can think of when I think of this scene. It's like how often it was just like this warbling,
Dwarfs warbling.
Yes. I was like, what a strange choice to call that sound.
Yeah, it is.
What is warbling? You don't think about warbling ever.
No, no.
I'm gonna start warbling.
Yeah, it's a strange noise that happens, and it's effective. I would say the first time you hear it, and then that's it.
Yeah.
The rest of it, it's like, okay, I get it. It's the noise they make. But I do like. I don't know, something about that,
The lighting of
the
it's really cool.
Yeah, the lighting, the dwarves, the music, the lighting all comes together, and it's effective. I like it.
So,
it's actually pretty intense because they wreck the car, right?
Yeah, the car crashes. And Mike jumps out of the of the car before it crashes, and then it crashes. Yes. And then he goes home and tells Jody what he saw. He saw, he think Reggie's dead. Reggie's gone. The girls are dead. They're gone. What are we gonna do?
This is where you get that scene where Jody's sitting on the recliner, and he just kind of sits there and spaces out or something.
Yeah,
like a long time. So he told Reggie to take Mike to the antique store. And then he went home and sat in a recliner.
Well, I think he's figuring out what to do with the tall man. Like, he's trying to come up with a plan. And he tells Mike, basically at this point, he's going to go kill the tall man. Because they're doing something with, if that's Tommy, they crushed him down. So they're doing it with corpses. So what about our parents? They're crushing down corpses. Our parents are up there. And that sends Jody to basically the edge. Like, I've got to go check on my parents. I've got to go see if they're still there. I've got to see what's going on with this. So he goes and takes Mike and locks him upstairs. Like, locks him in with the screwdriver. Wedges it in the door. And takes off. So Mike's sitting in his room, trapped in there. And he grabs a hammer, a thumbtack, and sticks it to the end of a shotgun shell. And then goes up and smacks the door with it and pops it and blows a hole in the door to get out. Now, I don't know if this really works. It might. I mean, it kind of would if you struck it hard enough. It would explode. But let's not try this, folks.
Do not try this at home.
I wonder how many kids tried this growing up.
I don't think many did. Because that's what Don Coscarelli said something about it himself. He's like, I never heard about this happening. I hope it has not. It's very ingenious. It's very ingenious little idea, I guess.
It's
funny. It's very fun movie logic.
As you're watching it, you're like, does that work like that?
Yeah, yeah.
What? Like, how? I mean,
I do not think
I don't know.
So you'd have to strike it.
There must not have been any windows
velocity
in his room.
There is the one, but I guess he just decided this was a better idea. But it's fun. I love it because it's just fun movie logic.
It is fun. It's definitely fun. I was definitely concerned about the reality of it, but
Concerned about his
cool.
hand.
It was cool. I was like, what? Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know.
So he gets out and is like, "Yep, I'm going to go and get out of here." He opens the door, and the fucking tall man is standing in his doorway. How terrified would you guys be if you opened the door and the tall man was staring there?
I would probably melt
I'd have
into a
wet
puddle.
myself.
Yeah, yeah. It's very effective too because he's holding his hand like this from his missing fingers.
Yeah,
and then
he's like this.
Yeah,
And then he's like
raises him, so we know that the tall man regenerates. So he's
that
like,
made me laugh.
He's like, "Oh, is this how I'm supposed to be? I'm not, you idiot."
He's like standing there like this, like, look what you did.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
Is this
tricked you?
Is this the first time where he's like, boy?
Yeah, this is the first time he calls him boy, which is runs throughout the series. So effective. Boy. So creepy.
Oh my gosh.
So he chases him. There's a chase scene. And he ends up capturing Mike and throwing him into the back of his hearse. Well, Mike has the gun in his belt. He put it in the back of his pants. So as they're driving, he shoots out the tire and then shoots out the window and jumps out. And the tall man crashes into a tree and explodes. And you're like, oh, well, that must be the end of the tall man. So
Sorry.
he meets up with Jody at the cemetery, and they go in and they're looking around because Jody is already in there, and he opens up the casket and sees that his parents. We don't see what he sees. He just can't do it, and he leaves. Mike shows up and sees the parents. He's like, "Sorry, Daddy, I've got to look." And he opens it, and the casket is empty. So he knows that they've been crushed down. And then so he runs, and then he starts getting chased by the sentinel, the silver ball, the sphere. And it starts chasing him, and Jody shows up and shoots it into, like we talked about, pink mist. They then run into Reggie, who just is there. Because he was captured and escaped. He also says that all those girls that were captured are not dead. He freed them, which I found out this time around. I didn't pay attention as much. But he says that he opened a window and sent them all out. He doesn't know who some of them were, but he saved a bunch of these girls and sent them out. So they open up this room to reveal this super bright white room. And they're looking around in it, and we see these two prongs standing up in the middle of the room. And we see all these canisters stacked up like these barrels. And they're trying to figure out what's going on here, and Mike sticks his hand through the portal on accident and realizes that's the portal. So he falls into it and sees this red planet and all of the dwarves marching. He's holding something. So he pulls him back, and he's like smoking because it's hot. And Mike reveals that they're crushing people down. They're turning the corpses into slaves, crushing them down, and because of the gravity of that world. So that's why they have to crush him down and using them as slaves. What do you guys think of this bit? Lydia first, especially since this was the first time you saw any of this stuff.
Can you
Wanna know your
imagine
thoughts?
just my face when I just see that planet? I was like, so they're aliens.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? I was not expecting that at all. Of all the scenarios in my head, aliens was not one of them. I was so shook. I was like, Like, I had no word. I was like, this is what this movie is? Like, yeah, I was shocked.
What do you think of this scene, Derek?
So is it aliens or is it interdimensional beings?
Maybe. I mean, you would say that's an alien too, I suppose, right?
Not from this world.
Maybe.
Yeah. 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 So
Fair
not
enough.
extraterrestrials, but interdimensional beings. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so the only issue that I have, and you made reference to this when you and I talked about it earlier today, was like he's only in there for a couple seconds, and then they pull him back out, and then he immediately knows what's happened, and
Right.
you can talk about like why that is here in a little bit, but like
Yeah.
that kind of got me a little bit. I was like, well, how would he know that? Just randomly. And then the tuning fork thing. So this is where the tuning fork
Yeah.
comes into play. And I guess
Mhm.
it's not as so the reason why I thought that this was kind of it would have been better if Jody or Mike was in the scene instead of Jody. But I guess that really doesn't make any sense because it's Reggie is the one who
Reggie's the one that does it. Yeah. Yeah.
who does the thing.
Yeah.
and-
So Reggie does the tuning fork, and then he's like, pictures it, and he's like, a wonder. So he puts his hands on the end of it, and it causes chaos. But before that happens, the lights go out in the place, and we get a good minute and a half of darkness in just voices. What do you guys think of this choice?
I think I had to rewind this scene because I was like, okay, let me get this straight of just like listening to what's happening here. So Mike gets grabbed,
Mhm.
right? He gets grabbed and taken immediately. You see
Yeah,
that
by the
happen.
dwarf, because he turns on lights his lighter, and he's attacked by a dwarf.
Right. And then, okay, yeah, so the lights go out. He lights his lighter, gets taken by dwarves. And then you hear Jody say something about, okay, follow me. We're going to go this way or something. And then door slams, Jody's gone, and Reggie's just still hanging out in this room by himself. Like, Jody was like, all right, follow me this way. And nobody follows him, but he leaves anyways and then runs out and is looking for everybody outside.
Yeah, well, yeah, and there's reasons for all this, but
Okay.
I guess Reggie probably didn't. He probably tried to find the door, but he couldn't find it, is what I'm guessing. And then lights came on, and he's in the room. He's trapped in the room. And
I literally said out loud, I was like, his ass just froze in the dark like mine would have.
maybe, yeah, he's
I'd be like, okay,
No
nobody
lights?
move.
Find a corner and stay there
Yes.
where they can't come up from behind you.
I'm safe.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, and then he uses the tuning fork, or he does the thing, and it starts on the portal, and it starts sucking everything in through the portal. Like, I mean, everything. All the barrels start going. Reggie climbs his way out of it and runs out of the
Oh my
mausoleum.
god, that also is my favorite part of this movie. It's him crawling out of the room on his belly, just
Yeah.
kind of like wobbling
Right.
back and forth with his skullet and his vest and his white pants and white shirt.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
scooting on this dirty floor. Oh my god, that was my favorite part of the whole movie.
So he makes it out, and we see Jody looking for Mike. We see Mike looking for everyone. We see Reggie come out, and he's trying to find everybody, and he sees the woman in lavender laying on the ground. So he goes over to check on her, and she stabs him in the stomach. And
She is so stabby.
She
She
is.
is.
He rolls over, and he's holding his stomach, and we cut and we see the tall man standing over him with a knife. So Mike and Jody end up getting the hell out of there. They see Reggie. They killed Reggie. We got to go. They get out of there and come up with a plan to stop the tall man.
His
they got to
plan is
lure
so
him.
ridiculous.
What's the plan, Derek? Tell us the plan.
There's like this 1,000-foot sinkhole or something like that, and
The mine. Yeah, it's a
mine, and they're gonna lure him up there, and he's like, man, somehow I'm gonna have to like get rid of the caution signs and stuff like that. Like, this is a very elaborate plan to like get this guy up there just so you can push him in this giant hole.
Yeah, so basically that's the plan. And that's how it works, essentially. It's exactly how it works. Jody goes up to the mine and starts doing his thing. And Mike is at home, and he's attacked by the tall man again. And he basically tricks him to come outside with him. Chases him outside. As he's going out, he sees these two gravestones pop up. And then he runs the gauntlet of all the things that attacked him. He sees, the dwarfs. He sees the woman in lavender. And at this point, he says, have no fear. What the fortune teller told him before. Don't be afraid. So he pushes forward. There's a scene I'm going to backtrack to real fast because we forgot to mention it before we get to the end of this movie. And it's the nightmare scene where he's in bed and he wakes up and the tall man's standing over him and he's attacked. What did you think of that scene, Lydia?
I thought it was ridiculous, but I only think that because it was in the trailer.
Yeah. I love that scene. It would be terrifying waking up in the middle of a forest with the fucking tall man standing above you.
I thought it was a graveyard because like the corpses.
Yeah, graveyard. Yeah, the corpses come up. Yeah. What'd you think of that scene, Derek?
I think it was pretty scary. I mean, anytime you have the tall man behind you when you're asleep, that's not good. But
not good.
When those corpses come up and like lunge at him, it was effective. I like that scene.
Yeah, I do too. That's why I just thought of it because of this ending, and I was like, oh, we forgot to mention that. So, Mike's running through the forest and leading him through the mine shaft, and he runs and jumps over something. The tall man falls into this pit they had created, essentially, and he's trying to dig his way out. He's trying to pull himself out, and then Jody from above pushes down a giant rock, and it crushes the tall man in the pit. And then, what do you think of that bit before we get to the ending?
That was a nice boulder.
Yeah, that's a good boulder. Like, did you like this? Like this ending, like him fighting, the way he fights him and stuff, having to face his fears and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of, I don't know, something took me out at the end where him repeating, I get the facing your fears thing, but he just kept saying it, I guess, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, the end of this, and then the boulder pushed him in, and I was like, that's how this is gonna go? Yeah,
it's kind of weak. It's kind of weak, I feel like, especially the endings that the tall man gets in the sequels. It's very weak compared to that.
Okay. I'm glad I'm not
Don't you think, Derek?
Kind of felt that way.
Yeah. I would agree with that assessment.
Yeah. So Mike wakes up. We find out that he goes downstairs and Jody's sitting by the fire. Or I'm sorry, Reggie's sitting by the fire. And you're immediately like, what? We just saw Reggie stabbed. What's going on? And we find out that Jody has died a week earlier in a car crash. And Mike is talking about how the tall man got him. And Reggie's like, Jody died in a crash, buddy. I know I'm not your brother. And this is really sweet scene, really. He says, I
It
know I'm
really
not
is.
Jody and I can never replace him, but I'm damn sure gonna try. And he gives him a big hug. And he's like, how about, you know what? We need partners, a change of scenery. How about we go hit the road for a while? And he's like, where are we gonna go? He's like, we'll figure that out when we get there. Go pack your
Yeah.
gear. And starts to play the guitar. So we find out that the movie that we just witnessed was the dream of this boy who misses his brother, right? In his fantasy world, Jody's alive. And death is this tall man. That's where we get at this point. Until Mike goes upstairs and sees a picture of Jody and looks at it. And then he closes his door, and on the mirror, he sees a tall man standing in the corner. And he yells. And then he's grabbed by dwarfs from behind and pulled through the mirror.
Yes.
And then we end. What do you think of this ending?
I love the picture of Jody with the little white dog.
And the little guitar? Yeah.
And they kind of, like, when they pull him through the mirror, they kind of already did that earlier
Mm-hmm.
with Jody pulling him through in the mausoleum.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, they just did that twice. But yeah,
Kind of.
the reveal that he was dreaming is really confusing to me. Like, I just don't understand what. I think I need to watch the rest of these movies to grasp at all what this movie is trying to do.
Yeah,
Because
so
it does not give a clear answer for anything.
no, that's kind of the point. It's to keep it ambiguous. But I think the ending is super strong when we see the tall man. That's terrifying.
Yes,
He's just
I agree
closes
with
the
that.
door and he's right there. And then they pull him through. What do you think, Derek?
So I wonder if it almost seems like a Nightmare on Elm Street scenario where they got to the end and they had just wrapped up this story, and then the ending kind of doesn't match. Now, if you're looking at it from the perspective of everything that we've seen was a dream, it all kind of makes sense, right? You've got the undertone, the messaging in it, and all that really ties together. But
The
then
strangeness.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the strangeness of it, the randomness of it, the logic where, I talked about this, where he goes to that other dimension or planet, and then he comes back and immediately knows what's going on. Like, all that makes sense. But then you get to the very end, and it's like, well, now what was it? Was that a premonition, or
Was it,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
was it a dream within a dream? Well, we find out in the sequels that the tall man can play with reality. We know that because of how the second movie opens. We know that the tall man can play with reality. And so it's kind of open to your interpretation and what you get out of the movie, what the movie does for you and what it means for you. I think the movie is an exercise in grief and processing grief. I think that's what the movie is actually about.
Mhm.
Is it about processing grief because you don't want to let somebody go, so you keep them alive in your mind, and then you have to face reality at some point. And then, of course, there's
Yeah.
spooky monsters and scariness and aliens and all this other stuff. But I think that's what the messaging of the first movie is about, in my interpretation.
It's a
Interesting.
fair interpretation.
Yeah, I like that. Makes me think. Makes me think a lot of thoughts.
Yep, me too. Me too.
Lydia's like, I gotta watch this movie again.
Yeah.
And that
It's interesting
is...
that you say that. I'm sorry, just real
No,
quick.
go ahead. Go ahead.
It did make me think of like a time in my life where I was experiencing like the most grief I've ever experienced, and I had the scariest nightmare. I mean, I have a lot of nightmares, and I always have, but this one nightmare when I was going through a grief period was the scariest nightmare that I've ever had, and it was very much like this movie, how this movie feels. So it makes perfect sense. I think my dream was scarier than this movie, but I'm not going to compare the two.
It's because it's your personal. Yeah.
Yes, very much. And it's kind of interesting. I think about if I was to write that dream into a horror movie and how that would turn out, but it would probably, I don't know. It was very scary. So, but the tones, the fact that this director was able to capture that and the writers were able to kind of make it so nightmarish in such a specific way is super interesting to me.
Yeah, well, Don Coscarelli said that, I mean, he based a lot of, because he wrote and directed it. And he said he based a lot of he got the idea for the movie based off of a dream. He had a dream, the spheres are Don Coscarelli's dream. He had a dream that he was being chased by these things. That came from the dream.
That would be that'd be pretty scary to have a dream like that. That would
Yeah, especially not existing yet in pop culture. Now we'd have a dream. We'd be like, man, I had a dream I was being chased by the ball from Phantasm. But to that just being a thing, and you're like, what the fuck was that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. What do you think, Derek, of the ending? And is that, do you think, what's your interpretation of it?
I don't know. The conversation you and I had earlier made a lot of sense, and so yeah, I don't know, especially where the second one picks up. You know, him being a reality manipulator makes a lot of sense as well. I don't know how to really take the end of this movie because, like I said, it had a vibe similar to the Nightmare on Elm Street, where they didn't want to wrap up the story, so they put this little like twist
Stinger
at the end so that they could
that
open up
and
that possibility.
Yeah, for that reason, and also probably because you want to end your horror movie with one last scare, right? And I mean, there it is. I mean, you know, some scares are that shattering, blah blah, big spooky scare. And then some horror movies in like their last scares, like John Carpenter's Halloween, which is just he's out there. You know, it's subtle. He's not there. He's out there.
Yeah.
Good luck finding him. You know, good luck to you, which is also terrifying. It's just two different schools of thought. So, let's talk about this movie. Lydia, what are your thoughts on this movie? Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's start with you. Why not? What are your thoughts on this movie? What is your pumpkin rating for this?
So, I like this movie. And I said at the beginning, I didn't think I was gonna like it. I saw the trailer and I was like, that looks kind of lame. And it's, you know, it's old enough to where it's like it could go either way. You know, it could be a weird, outdated, strange, you know, horror that doesn't make sense to me today. But it did make sense. You know, I mean, it didn't explain anything, but the scares were real. And they were good. It was directed well. There were a lot of scenes that I liked. I jumped several times. The acting was good, for the most part.
Yeah.
Aside from the sex scene at the beginning, but
yeah. Oh baby.
So I think I'm gonna give this movie a 7. 7 pumpkins. That's my rating. There you go.
Love it. Derek.
This is a movie you really have to pay attention when you're watching it. Unfortunately, it didn't have my undivided attention, which is sad. I wish I would have had more opportunity to focus specifically on it. Because all you have to do is glance away for a couple minutes, and then like when you come back to it, you're like, there was a point where I did have to rewind this movie because I was like, what just happened? So,
Yes. I missed
but here are
one thing.
I know.
And it
you're
was
like, I
such
don't
an
know what
important
happened.
thing.
Yeah, this movie has some really great shots in it, like some impressive shots. I do. I've got to give it credit there. The acting for the most part was pretty good. It's got some really scary aspects to it that carry on through not only this franchise, but in horror in general. So I'm with Lydia. I think I'm going to give this movie a 7 as well.
So, I had the luxury of having watched this not too long ago. I mean, it's been about a year or so, but I watched it not too long ago. When I bought that Blu-ray, and then so I watched it on Tuesday night. I had Wednesday off, so I was able to stay up late and watch it. So I watched the movie once I got home and just had my undivided attention on it. And yeah, I agree with everything you said. The only thing I'll add is that I think the score is great. I think it's an all-timer theme song. I think the theme song rocks. I think
agree
it's
with that.
atmospheric. It's like very spooky. I love the performances for the most part. I love the tall man. I think he's an iconic horror figure. Definitely belongs in that conversation. Yeah, I think it's like you said, Lydia. It could go either way. The trailer for this movie is terrible. I remember watching of the special features and watching the original trailer, and I'm like, oh my god. I wonder if how did people watch it and say, yeah, I've definitely got to go see that.
Yeah. What would you compare that trailer to?
I'm trying to think. There's another one I had like in mind that was just like an awful trailer.
Yeah.
Because it's just like weird scenes stitched together, and it's just like
the weirdest scenes.
Yeah, and I guess they don't want to give away the scares, which is fine, but at least give away something and like make it spooky and atmospheric. But yeah, the trailer's bad.
Yeah.
But
I have to watch the trailer. I haven't seen it in a while.
But yeah, I agree with you guys. I'll give this movie a 7 as well. It almost rates a little higher, but there might be other movies in this franchise that I like better, so they might get a higher grade. But I'll give this movie a 7. I really enjoy it. I think it's infinitely scarier than some of the other. Another movie that we watched that was released in 1979, the Amityville Horror. I think it's way scarier than Amityville. Way more entertaining. So yeah, 7. What were you going to say, Lydia?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm actually shocked at myself for agreeing because I forget. Like in my head, I'm like, Amityville was great. And then when we reviewed it, it just wasn't as good as I remembered it being. So it's crazy to be like, this movie is scarier than Amityville.
Yeah.
He gave that a 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. This I was gonna say though when I almost interrupted you. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
I was gonna say it's watchable. Like it is watchable, and it is entertaining. So I recommend if you haven't seen it to watch it.
Yeah, it's a very fun watch. It's not like a tedious watch and you have to get through like slog to get to good stuff. It's throughout the whole movie, and it engages you, has that kind of 70s atmosphere, and it's a story about a boy, a teen boy. It's like one of those coming of age stories, mixed with strange shit and scary shit.
That's
So
what
yeah,
the title should have been, like the
scary shit.
catchphrase. It's a coming of age story and some scary shit.
Coming of age story with a tall man. That might
We
be a
Yes.
should make
different
a
movie. That might be
fake movie trailer.
if you name it that, yeah.
You guys should put together a better trailer for this movie. Someone should. Someone should do it.
We'll give it a shot eventually, maybe.
This
That'd
trailer,
be pretty funny.
This trailer made this movie look so boring that I didn't want to watch it.
That's a thing.
That's not
I
what
feel
a trailer
like
should do.
I feel like that's the thing in the 70s. Like trailers just weren't good in the 70s. Because like have you ever seen the trailer for the original Star Wars?
No.
It's like the Star Wars. And it like just shows like shots of stuff and it's like it's another dimension. And then the Star Wars. And then it ends with coming to a galaxy near you.
Oh man.
And you're just like if I saw that trailer, I'd have been like, that movie looks terrible, but it's fucking Star Wars, so it's amazing. So
Yeah.
like, this is the.
They just didn't. They didn't know how to sell movies to people back then.
They love to just repeat the title over because there's that movie Zardoz, which is a terrible, weird Sean Connery sci-fi movie, but it just throughout the trailer, Zardoz, Zardoz. You're like, well, I'll never forget the name of the movie at least.
Yeah, they really drive that point.
Zardoz.
You know, I think that was where Steven Seagal really had a misstep. He only pronounced his name in that movie one time.
In which one? What the hell are you talking about?
My name is Taub. He should have walked around that movie every like couple of steps and turned back and like, my name is Tao. I'm just saying.
This is like being in Phantasm. It just...
I see the relevance in what I said. Lydia probably is like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm so lost right
Get
now.
what you and I are talking about, but the audience and Lydia have no idea.
Maybe we'll
That's
put
just like
that movie on our list one day.
It's just maybe. It's just a perfect
What
non
movie?
sequitur. There's this terrible Steven Seagal movie called Against the Dark.
Okay.
That we weren't talking about at all.
There's
Okay,
relevance
all right.
in there. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's what makes it
Guess
so
you had
funny.
to be there.
Oh,
You had to be
Yeah,
there.
there's
You
a
had to
scene
be
in
in
this
Derek's
movie.
mind.
yeah. There's a
to
scene. In this,
know.
there's a scene in that movie where Seagal. It's a movie about Seagal like killing vampires, and it's awful. And he barely moves in it. He just kind of does this, and it flash cuts because he was way overweight at this point, and he just never did anything. But he says, "They're like, who are you?" And it goes, "Daka daka daka da da. My name is Zal." Daka 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 da da.
But that's
Zal?
literally the only thing he says in the entire movie. That's his
Yeah, he
only
doesn't
line.
talk throughout it. Yeah, he's just silent throughout most of it, and then he goes, "My name is Zal." Daka 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 da da. That's what the music does. It's
Oh no.
amazing.
I mean, it sounds great, honestly.
Oh.
I'm not gonna lie. That what you just said was probably better than the trailer.
Yeah, yeah. Woo! Okay,
That's the whole point.
That was a great segue. I turned red from laughing so hard. I thought I was going to pass out for a minute there.
You know what time it is, right?
It is time to Akanize Phantasm.
Thrill me.
So, guys, who would the great Tom Atkins play in this movie?
Tommy.
Well, he'd make that part better for sure.
Yes.
I don't think he'd go, "Oh, babe.
And if
I
he
don't know,
did, at least it would be sexy.
Yeah, it definitely would. I wouldn't mind seeing. I like the actors and everything, but I wouldn't mind seeing Tom Atkins as Jody. That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, he'd be a good Jody.
Yeah.
Young Tom Atkins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Young Tom Atkins as Jody.
It
This
would
is
be
the
great
Fog
if-
John Atkins. Yeah, this would be the
Yeah.
Fog era Tom Atkins.
Yeah.
The only way he
He's
could
like,
play Reggie
yes.
is if he had the same
The
haircut.
best.
Yeah, Lydia's like the best Tom Atkins.
Reggie with Tom Atkins having Reggie's haircut.
Yeah, with the skull.
That's
What'd you call it?
That's what
The skull.
Derek just said.
Skull.
Skull it.
Man, I
Let's
wish
see
I
if we
knew
can't
Photoshop. I'd fix that.
Yeah. There's
There's
equivalents.
got to be a face swap app that we could use.
Hey, Lydia, you want to try to Photoshop Tom Atkins?
I'll take a
Reggie's
whack
hair
at
on
it.
Tom Atkins.
I'm
We'll
a
drop it
little
right
afraid
here.
to see that, but
It would be disturbing. It's probably a disturbing image. Yeah, I guess we'll say Jody, right?
I
Fog
think
Tom
that's the
Atkins as
wisest
Jody.
choice.
Yeah. I like how you said, yes. He is attractive.
the GIF that I made.
Yeah.
Is he attractive? Yes, I am.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, he is. So, whose pick is it? Is it yours, Derek?
It's Lydia's.
Oh, it's Lydia's pick.
It's mine. Oh my god, I just
It's
got so
your
excited.
pick. Yeah. That's right, because we watched your movie last, which was Child's Play.
Mhm.
So, Lydia, what movie are we watching?
So
Next week.
I'm going to pick 28 Days Later.
Oh, okay. Lydia's on the modern train. 28 Days Later. Do you know if that's streaming anywhere?
Nope.
Okay.
I have it.
Good.
So-
Hopefully you find it somewhere. Derek, will you check?
Sure.
28 Days Later, that's a good one. So,
Mhm.
I haven't seen that in a while, actually. It's been quite a few moons ago since I watched that
I
one.
wanted to get kind of an infection movie going and maybe get into
HBO
some
Max
zombie
looks like it has
movies.
it.
Nice. Yeah, well, we need to start getting into zombie season here soon.
Mhm.
We have to, crack open the Romero films here eventually.
Yes, I just didn't want to wait. I didn't want to go through all the Romero films before we just touch on my favorite, which is 28 Days Later.
Yep. We'll get to the Romeros.
Spoiler.
And they are fantastic, too. Spoiler on that. So, guys, any last thoughts on Phantasm before we leave it for next week? Are you happy you watched this, Lydia?
I am happy I watched it. I should have watched it a long time ago, but that's why I love this podcast, because I get the opportunity to be forced to watch things against my will.
And like it,
yeah.
yeah.
And like it. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. But
If I'm picking it, it's good. If Derek's picking it, it's probably Lumberjack Man. Right, Derek?
Hell yeah.
I mean, the crowd goes wild for Lumberjack Man.
Apparently. Lumberjack. You guys are lumber crazy. all about that wood.
All about building benches.
Building benches. All right, guys. If there's nothing else, be sure to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on social media. Lydia, what's your Twitter handle?
I don't know my own.
It
Twitter
is
handle.
Lydia. Follow Lydia at Lydia_is_spooky.
That's right. Lydia is spooky.
Follow
Underscores.
me at Racket. Follow Derek at DDoglyMaster. You can find all of our content on HylaProductions.com. You can find us on Facebook at Hyla Productions. You can find us on Instagram at Scream Bloody Movies. Be sure to share this video, comment, like, subscribe, and let's grow the podcast even more. And if there's nothing else for Lydia Judy and Derek Lemaster, I am Jamie Hiles. And remember, folks, if you're going to scream, scream bloody movies. Scream bloody movies. Good night, folks.